It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Get ready for epic savings at Best Buy. Right now, you can save up to $700 on select Alienware and Dell gaming products. Perfect for leveling up your gaming experience. Plus, grab the latest Android Google Pixel at an unbeatable price. Don't miss these incredible deals. Shop now at bestbuy.com and upgrade your tech today.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Ready to bring your vision to life? At Small Rig, every idea, design, and product is inspired by you, the creator. With our industry-first under co-design mode and the Dream Rig free customization project, we unite with global creators to turn big dreams into reality. Whether it's a cage rig or mount, Small Rig's versatile gear is built to elevate your craft. Small Rig, where your creativity meets our innovation. Go to smallrig.com.
At Rolls Rolla, we don't just sell wallpaper, we create cohesive, cozy spaces. Our deep understanding of design means every pattern, color, and texture is carefully chosen to complement your home. Plus, we use advanced technology and water-based inks for vibrant, eco-friendly prints, ensuring a healthier environment. Visit rollsrolla.com to transform your space today. That's ROLLSROLLA.com today. At 25 Home, our ultimate goal is to provide you with a transformative experience, making each day feel like it has an extra hour. We believe your home is more than just a space, it's a sanctuary where comfort, relaxation, and happiness thrive. Discover the difference at 25 Home today. Shop now at 25home.com.
Hey, it's the Pete Sousa Show. We are coming to you live. We're here in Flower Mound. Hold on, let me fix this lighting a little bit. You know, this usually, I like to wait to do it till we get actually like right on the air, just to keep everybody guessing. And for now, that'll do just fine, I guess, right? So on the road. Okay. About to hit the road in a little bit, but I want to start off with you guys. I got Scotty back in the studio, getting us into the swing of things, no pun intended. And we are happy to be here with you on a Friday. Some stuff going on. Of course, we're presented by Slovacic's, D1 Dallas, Crawford Austin Properties. Just talked to my man Gordon Harriman from Crawford Austin Properties for a while. We're starting the show off a little bit early, like I mentioned, because of travel. But Gordon is stoked about what he's doing with us here at the Pete Sousa Show and Rogue Media. And we are fired up to keep that relationship going in all kinds of different ways. All kinds of cool stuff percolating over here at Rogue Media Network. And one of the things that's really not percolating anymore is the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game in particular. Now, let me tell you a story to give you some context on all this, okay? When I was a kid, I can remember one specific day. Now, my father, God love him. God love him. He had a bit of a temper, and he just didn't. He didn't like surprises, and he didn't like any lip. If he told you to do something, he just wanted to get it done. It was actually a pretty good example of like how kind of life is. If I didn't do certain things, there would be consequences for not doing them. I remember a specific July afternoon when, my dad, I was a nut about baseball, especially in my earlier years. And one of the things I celebrated more than anything, every Saturday, NBC had a game of the week. And it was usually one game, maybe two, if you were lucky, as the summer months went on into September. And then you had the Phillies playing locally. I could also see the Chicago Cubs on WGM and the Superstation TBS, right? Like I could see the Braves every so often. So that was basically my diet of Major League Baseball and the Mel Allen Show, This Week in Baseball. So there was such an excitement to seeing teams or players from other teams, or to see other teams in general. And that one July day I'm mentioning, my father and I was doing the dishes with him, and I must have surprise, surprise, done like kind of a crappy job on something. I didn't dry a cookie sheet or some kind of tray. I forget. But I do remember the sheet getting thrown at me because it wasn't dry and again, I feel like I need to say this disclaimer, but if this is the first time you're watching, my dad was amazing. All right. But he was a human being as well. And he never got the handbook on how to raise kids. Right. So whatever. That's life. Everybody's got some kind of family thing. My dad was amazing. But he also, like I said, had a temper. I don't want to be an apologist for him, but if I'm going to tell the story, I want to give a little context. So he throws the whether it was a cookie sheet or something, some cooking device or tray at me that I didn't dry properly. And he said, "And no All-Star game tonight." And I was probably 10 years old. This is probably 1987, maybe 86. I can remember being like, in my mind, like, no goddamn way am I missing this All-Star game. Like, whatever he needs me to do, I'm going to do it so I don't miss this All-Star game. I wanted to see Ozzie Smith play. I wanted to see Kirk Gibson play. I wanted to see Frank White play. I wanted to see George Brett play. I wanted to see Jose Cruz play, right? Like, I wanted to see all these teams and all these players who I never see play in an All-Star game. And the fact that I might miss that was like terrifying to this young sports fan. And the All-Star game then, I won't even say that there was a competition, like the baseball All-Star game, like, yeah, they wanted to win. I think there was a stretch where the American League or the National League, one team had won like 15 years in a row. And, it goes back to we all remember the story, or we've seen the image. If you're watching the show, you're enough of a sports fan to know that the Pete Rose, the game in Cincinnati in the ninth inning, when Ray Fosse, the catcher for the Indians, is trying to tag Pete out at home plate and to end the game. And Pete Rose bowls over him, throws a shoulder at him, knocks the ball out of his hands, and steps on home plate, scoring the winning run in the All-Star game. Now, were All-Star games after that like as competitive as that one? No, that was more Pete Rose than the competition of the All-Star game. But it was still an amazing moment. Ray Fosse says it had a lot to do with his career and the struggles late in it. And, that's been litigated. You can go look that up or listen to something to talk about that, whether that's true or not true. The story goes too that Ray Fosse had dinner at Pete Rose's house the night before in Cincinnati. And the next day, Pete's a competitor, right? That's what he does. And that All-Star game was gone by the time I came around. That one was, I think, 73. That's gone by the time I'm watching baseball. But there's still a very it's just rare air to see all these players in the same place at the same time. The starting lineups were amazing. I would also, one of the teams I left out, I would get to watch the Mets on the station out of Secaucus in New Jersey. They would broadcast like probably 20 Mets games. So I get to see some Mets games there because that cable brought that to us in southeastern Pennsylvania. But there were so many teams like Andre Dawson, like Willie Stargell, like all these guys who would come on my TV screen. I get to watch play all the different players in the different uniforms. It was amazing. It is over. And I mean, it is over. It's over in baseball. Baseball might be the one that still has a little bit like left. Football it's over. And it is what it is. It's a flag football game now. Hockey, I think that was last night. I don't even know what it was. Cam was texting me about how Sean McDonough wasn't calling the game or Bob Wischusen was. I could have cared either way. I just know that Cam will be yelling about some guy named Chara and Marchand probably in about 20 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. But as far as the basketball, I knew, but I didn't know. Like, I've been seeing enough alerts on my phone to understand that, the All-Star game is coming up. I really didn't know, though, like it was this weekend. I think it's this weekend. And I think it is. I don't know where it is. I used to work in the NBA. I have zero desire to watch it. The guy from Texas Tech, the McClung kid, he is the favorite to win the slam dunk contest. And the slam dunk contest, the guy's played 5 games in the NBA, I think. 5. He's in the G League now, the McClung kid. And good for him. Look at this. Look at this competition here. We're looking at football. Wow. This is like, guys, are you kidding me? They should literally I would much rather, what kicks ass is the girls flag football league. I'd much rather watch that than this crap. And I mean, look at this. Are we serious? I can't even handle what's on the screen right now because I didn't watch it before, obviously. So all of this now, and the basketball All-Star game, again, I don't understand it. I think it's 4 teams in some kind of tournament. I really don't know. You can look it up. I don't care to look it up. I don't care at all. I'm not saying I don't like the NBA. I'm not saying I won't be all in on the postseason. I'm not saying we all don't love football, right? Baseball is like a little sus, but it's about to crank up here. And the Summer Classic, I don't know. I still enjoy it. I more so than basketball or football. But here's why it's okay. Like, I've been reading some stories recently about how it's such a shame that the All-Star games are what they are. Even back as recently as, I can remember 2001, the NBA All-Star game. I remember because Allen Iverson won the MVP. The game came down to the final moments. Everybody was playing their asses off in this game. I'm not sure that Jordan was in the game. I think he had come back by now. Maybe it was the year he came back. But the competition was such, I don't even remember if MJ was playing in it. I just remember it was an awesome game. I remember Kobe was playing down to the wire. Iverson won the MVP. It was emotional. He was like calling for Larry Brown, who was the coach of the Sixers at the time, to come join him up on the stage. It was like a triumphant moment for him, and it meant a lot to win the All-Star game. I can remember Tom Chambers winning the All-Star game MVP in 1987. He was a replacement player on the All-Star game because somebody got hurt, and the game was in Seattle, and Chambers was a Seattle Supersonic, and he'd been in the dunk contest the night before too. And he won the MVP. It was so amazing. Like, that was like Sunday afternoon. My brothers and I huddled around the TV watching it. Like, that's never going to happen again. They could cancel these All-Star games for all I care. For all I think a lot of fans could care. I guess All-Star Weekend's a really good time. It is a lot of fun. The last time All-Star Weekend I was at in person, there was a shooting involving Pac-Man Jones. So that was a long time ago. That was 2008, I think. But like the All-Star weekend in itself is like it's a blast if you're into partying. Like I wouldn't know what to do if I went to All-Star weekend now, unless the great Corey Dickman or some executive from ESPN had summoned me there for like a business meeting or whatever. But I can't imagine ended up going back to the All-Star game unless I would be like, God forbid, someday I'm like calling games like that. It would be unbelievable. Like I'm sure Brian Anderson has no issue with going to the All-Star game this weekend if he's calling it. But you get my picture. But it's over as far as like the excitement and the flavor, because we have so much sports in our life. So this is the good news. Like the All-Star game is oversaturated. The guys don't want to compete. And, that's part of it. I think like you wish that these guys would play, because in the NBA offseason, these guys play pickup games where, whether it's at North Carolina or out at the old Marymount in LA, like these guys get together and like beat the shit out of each other, like in off-season workouts. They still do that. And the All-Star game is not a place where they care to compete like that. And I think that's something that we all have sort of been wrestling with and how much we care about it. But we have so much sports now, it doesn't matter. Like I notice myself, right? Like there's an old school part of me that's like, man, like, the All-Star game, like it's over with and I miss it. And all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's fine, because the reason that the All-Star game doesn't matter is because we have sports everywhere all the time. And we see every single athlete all the time. I see no issue in folks being a little like tapped out. They see all their stars all the time everywhere. And these guys are constantly hanging out together. And again, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying don't be friends, but the relationships are such where like they don't even care to play hard against each other in these events. Now let's see what Scotty has to say. Scotty's back in the studio. Scotty, any thoughts on the All-Star game and why? Like, because I don't have an issue with it. I found myself I've graduated to not caring. And understand it.
You graduating to not caring is what the professionals have done for the last 15 years, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, Pete, I grew up at an interesting time, just a little younger than you, not by much, right? But, when I was growing up as a kid and a teenager, I was way more invested often in the festivities around the All-Star game than the game itself. So, for instance, I kind of lived and died for the home run derby every year. As a Texas Rangers fan in the late 90s, you can understand why, because I rooted for teams that, hit 1,000 home runs in their sleep, but gave up more runs constantly. And with the NBA stuff, I would always look at the I cared way more about like 3-point contest and dunk contest. But even when I was a kid, Pete, and like think about what the NBA All-Star game was 15, 20 years ago, it was already being devalued when you have arguably the greatest player in the history of the league come in LeBron James and never participate in a slam dunk contest.
Yeah.
Why?
I'll tell you why.
Value it.
I'll tell you why. It's all ego. It's all ego. They're afraid to fail.
Well, but now, like you talk about Max McClung, and he's an incredible artist with the dunks and like fun to watch. He's not even an NBA player.
Yeah,
he's a G League player.
Well, and that's why he's a guy that has zero to lose, right? Why wouldn't he go into the dunk contest? Any guy that's upper echelon, and this could be part of, social media and the fact that what I'm talking about, you can access these guys and what they're doing anywhere, anytime, especially when they screw up, right? That becomes just as much top of the line news feed than their successes do. And I think that they know that. They know that if LeBron goes out there and has like the 50 dunks and 45 of them don't work and they suck and it's embarrassing, there's a lot you can't control in that moment. And I think that is, I remember when I was working for the Hornets, the Bobcats at the time, Gerald Wallace made the All-Star game and he participated in the slam dunk contest. And it was like he didn't even try. It was like because he didn't want to. I feel like he didn't want to embarrass himself, or who knows. But it felt like he didn't want to try. He didn't want to embarrass himself.
It's stupid, man. But think about how the dunk contest 15 years ago elevated the profile of like a young Dwight Howard and
dude, Michael Jordan.
Who was that short player that went against Dwight Howard? That was basically Spud Webb 2.0.
Nate. What's his face from the Knicks?
Nate Robinson.
Nate
right?
Robinson.
Yeah. So like I've seen some great dunk contests, but yeah, like I don't remember when it was literally Dr. J and Jordan in the dunk contest, right? Pete, can I show you a 1-minute clip of how bad things have gotten?
Yes, please.
I saw this on X, I guess a week and a half ago now, and it literally just, I think, encapsulates all of this better than anything. It's got audio, so it'll cut us off for a second, but I want to show everyone this 1-minute clip. This is how bad things have gotten.
First part of this, they must catch 3 footballs, but they can only use one hand.
Easy. Oh, does that count? No, because you got to use his body. Oop, no.
Ah! It's coming out hot, Dan.
KJ. There you go.
There he goes. All right, now he puts the mascot hands on.
He'll catch this.
Those are weird. Oh!
Whoa, that ball came hot.
Look at his face. He's got it. Time for the diving catch. Uh-oh. Got to wait for that football to come out. Now, man, that time's ticking away for everybody else. Here he goes.
He could have dove at that.
You think?
I thought so.
All right, remember, if he's not able to catch it, that's why he's going through the agility portion of this. He's going to tag out, and up next is Jalen Johnson.
Pete.
Was that Laura Rutledge and Dan Orlovsky? Somebody take them to dinner. Like, that was a good job by them.
Pete, what are we doing? That is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they're putting mascot hands on him as a skills challenge, and then they can't even throw him a football that he can dive and catch over a mat. How pathetic and embarrassing is that? What are we even doing here? Like
so
that.
Do you think they should just eliminate them overall everywhere?
I don't think it's a bad idea, especially in football. I think football is easily the most egregious, useless one. I mean, Drake, all due respect to my friend Cam Stewart, Drake May played in the Pro Bowl this year. Like, it has become a participation award. Yeah. And I think what's really unfortunate about that is, like, for some reason, I guess because it transcends era, all-star games have continued to be a metric, how we compare people. Like, oh, well, he made so many all-star games versus so-and-so made this many all-star games. And, like, especially in the NFL, when it's like half the guys opt out anyway, it's not a good metric to determine someone's excellence at all. Like, so I think it's unfortunate that you might lose it in some of those sports, but I don't think it's adding value. I think especially like when I saw that Justin Jefferson clip I just played, I was like, this actually makes your sport look infinitely worse. Like, it's not even that you're not adding value anymore. You're literally detracting value from these stars and from this like gathering that should be celebrating football.
Which,
and
by the way, is hard to do in the NFL.
I mean, Pete, that looks like if a YouTube sketch artist 10 years ago had tried to make a mockery of the Pro Bowl. Mascot hands? They can't throw him a football that he can dive and catch over a mat. That looks like a YouTuber wrote a bad script to parody the NFL about 10 years ago. That's the reality we're living in with these all-star games.
Yeah, I don't know what Justin Jefferson's situation is, but he didn't look like he was 100% during that either, whatever's going on there.
But he's smiling and laughing, and good for him for going out there. And there's fans that are there that want to see him and Jamar Chase. I mean, but like, it's pathetic, bro. It's really
here's something I thought about this morning, and this is way down the line. But when you look at these games and you see how they're deteriorated and how they've really lost a lot of luster, then you start to think about the NBA in general. And I know the immediate future financially is fine, but I'm curious to, like, although the bottom line looks good for the NBA right now, right? And baseball as well, because of the TV contracts, right? There's so much TV money. At the same time, I wonder if they could still have these bloated contracts, billion-dollar contracts for the TV rights, but people at the same time could lose interest and the sports could fall off. Like there is a world where the NBA is always making money, and then all of a sudden, interest is gone.
Let me
nobody's watching the TVs that all these cable companies have paid so much money, or the devices, whatever, and everybody's getting every single thing on Twitter if they want to get it there. But and that's why we've seen the reshuffling of the deck, like with rules, and they're kicking around all these new ideas. It's an attempt to stay ahead of the curve, and you really can't disparage like Adam Silver or anyone in any of these big time league offices for trying to come up with ideas to stem the tide, because
they're trying. You said it a second ago. They're trying that like 4-team tournament for the All-Star game this year, which I think is interesting. You know where the All-Star game is really fun, and I don't know how you would replicate it in all sports, but I have an idea. Well, I know you're not a soccer guy, Pete, but what MLS does is the MLS All-Stars get together and face the Liga Mexi All-Stars. So you have all the Mexican League All-Stars playing all the United States All-Stars.
Yeah.
It's a competitive. I mean, there is, I think, a slight step down in terms of like guys aren't going to hit the turf and try to take guys' legs out. Like there's a little bit of a competitive edge that's lost, but they are playing to see like who's better, the United States or Mexico, which professional league is better. And it really adds a level of intensity to it. And so I wonder if for the NBA or baseball, I think this could work. Like one of the storylines in the NBA has been like, where are all the American superstars when right now the best players in the game are all international?
Yeah.
Like what if next year it was the Americans versus the international players?
Well, then that's what they do with
that adds some juice to it, right? Like with,
possibly that's what they do for USA basketball. It kind of mirrors the McDonald's All-American game. They do a game called the Hoop Summit, and it's the world versus America. And
I think
it's kind of cool.
A great idea.
Yeah. Let's check out Bear the Truth says, like golf, USA versus Europe. And that's a great watch. It is a great watch. It really is. And it adds a lot of interest. Yeah. And last thing I'll talk about with you, and I want to bounce this off you, Scotty, because again, we have a short show today. I'm about to take off for a hoops game. But the Cowboys and the potential trades, okay? I saw something this morning, a report about CeeDee Lamb possibly getting traded. We saw Micah Parsons maybe getting dealt. If you had to pick between those two guys, who would you rather the Cowboys deal?
You just named the only two players, and maybe along with Overshown. There's 3 players that all Cowboys fans still adore, and you just named them.
Because you can't trade. Obviously, you can't trade Dak.
No, nobody's taking that contract. So who would I rather trade?
Yeah, you have to trade one of them. Sophie's choice.
So I have Jalen Smith hangovers because I think my head says you can more easily replace a top wide receiver in today's game than an elite pass rusher. So I think my head says trade CD and keep Micah Parsons. But we signed Jalen Smith to a huge deal 3-4 years ago, and then he was out of the league 2 years later. So I just my heart would say CeeDee Lamb because we all like the explosive playmakers. But I think my brain and my better thinking would say pass rushers are a dime a dozen. Wide receivers, you seem to get 5 great ones in every draft. Not that I necessarily trust Jerry and Steven to draft the next one, but I think that's what I would say. I think you have to keep Micah Parsons.
You have to keep him.
Especially after you watch what the Eagles just did. Like the Eagles have 2 of the top 10 wide receivers in the NFL, and that's part of their success. But they beat the Kansas City Chiefs because they could get to Patrick Mahomes with 4 guys.
100%. And that's why
Micah Parsons is that level of a pass rusher.
That is why I believe that, and I don't know that it'll take CD or whatever. I think the Cowboys will make a real push for Myles Garrett. And I think that potentially puts them right there. Because if you remember last year,
that would make me very happy as a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yeah, and it's a copycat league. We talked about it ad nauseum leading up to the Super Bowl and then after the Super Bowl. The Eagles won a Super Bowl it's the same way that Tom Brady was beat before, right?
Yes, exactly the same.
You get 4 guys who can rush, so if somebody's going to beat the Eagles, that's what it'll take. Like it's just kind of that's how we work in the NFL now that maybe Jalen Hurts is the guy you have to stop. It's a super interesting concept, and if you have to give up CD Lamb to get another big time pass rusher, that could possibly be on the table.
I think I'm with you. I think if I want CeeDee Lamb on the Dallas Cowboys, like I really like him as a player, but I think if they were going to trade him, I would be deeply dissatisfied with like a 3rd and a 5th round pick. Yeah. But if you told me we're trading him so we have the space to sign Myles Garrett, or we're trading him for a pass rusher somewhere, like I think then I could swallow it and be okay with it. I would hope that we'd have to draft a stud then at that position, because man, everybody else they've tried to put with CD Lamb has been terribly disappointing. Brandon Cooks has been injured. Gallup was never quite as good as everyone thought.
Fun, but
Turpin's a great wide receiver number 3. Can take it on a reverse, can return kicks, can catch some balls, but like he is not a wide receiver 1. Mingo, we just gave up the worst trade for a receiver ever, trading for Jonathan Mingo. I don't know what we were doing. Like if we trade CD Lamb, we have no explosive offensive weapons other than Turpin. Turpin would be like, we don't have a good running back and we don't have a number 1 receiver at that point. Like,
all right, last question, just from Bear the Truth, and then we'll bounce after this. Like we mentioned, a short version today. Make sure you go to like and subscribe. Got over 5,000 subscribers now, so we're going to keep it rolling. And we do a great job of cutting up all the clips afterwards. You can watch all kinds of different segments of the show. All right, Bear the Truth says, depends on how good or bad the deal would be for Garrett. How confident are you of Dallas getting a good deal for him? I am confident they would get a good deal for him. I don't think they would trade him. I mean, that would be a bonanza. If the Cowboys were to make like a suspect trade, like get him off the cap, and maybe you get a couple 2nd or 4th round picks, like that would be kind of ugly.
I will take the opposite approach, Pete. I would be shocked if we get a good return for either of those guys. Not only because Dallas right now is in a routine of bad trades and off-field decisions, but also because, again, that Jonathan Mingo trade, bro, just like made no sense to me. Like that was asinine. Like I just don't trust this front office. I don't.
Well, look, I trust you to share my sentiments with Zach Burke. Tell him I said thank you for talking to Zach Owen today, because that was another 5-alarm deal.
Here, can I tease next week? I think next week, I don't want to overstate what's happening, but I think we could have 2 NFL players on next week throughout the week. Current NFL players who both have roots or connections to Waco.
There we go.
I think Bear the Truth is going to come on as a guest next week. We'll have to find out what this guy's like and see if he can talk the banter with us. So I think
let's go. I'm in. I'm so in on that.
I think we've got some good shows next week, Pete.
Oh, Scotty, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for checking us out. Remember, like and subscribe. Have a terrific weekend. The Pete Sousa Show signing off. If you want to catch me, I'll be out in Tempe. Late night game. It is TCU at Arizona State. I'll be doing it with Scott Williams. Everybody be safe. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
It's the Pete